So good afternoon, one and all present again in this webinar, and I, Salahuddin Khan, again welcoming you all. A hearty welcome in the webinar, how to write a good CV. And as per our schedule, we are starting with, I would be informing you about the Association for Collaborative Leadership. The people who are here, they are organizing committee and they are the participants. So the organizing people are from Zest for Consulting Services and from Aga's Welfare Foundation, and the other associations that we have are MP Educationist Conclave, Women Empowerment Squad, and Central Khidmat Team Bhopal. So on behalf of all, I welcome you all. Salahuddin Khan, welcome you all. A brief about all the sponsors. Zest for Consulting Services is an LLP, is a Government of India recognized registered LLP and certified authorized partner. The company provides a platform of learning and global recognized certifications from the giants like Microsoft, Adobe, Autodesk, EC Council, IC3, and many more. The certification are globally recognized. So globally recognized skills and certification will add value to your CV, resume, and in turn, it will add values to your career. A brief about Aga's Foundation. Aga's Welfare Foundation is a registered NGO of Mumbai since 2019. Foundation arranges important talks, webinars, and seminars on education, law, medical, and other. Foundation also works with other small organizations in many social causes like food drive, distribution of scholarships, distribution of book, information, and legal law book to some NGOs, students, and individuals. Foundation is also distributing medicines to the needy and is working on it to cover this medical assistance from every angle. And there are the two more, sponsors. They are sponsors. They are associated members. You can say member. MP Educationist Conclave is a group of all the educationists from MP working in the direction for the improvement of education level in MP. Women Empowerment Squad is basically working in the direction of empowering women, girls, and ladies for the life skills, education, and medical health. Currently, we are working in this group is working in MP. And the last, Central Khidmat Team Bhopal is basically an umbrella group of all the NGOs working for the city of Bhopal. This group aims to give support to all the NGOs, members, and individuals living in Bhopal for their social cause of education, empowerment, job posting, blood donation, food distribution, medical facilities, and many more. With me today, we have Dr. Firdaus Asaf. She'll be introducing the speaker of the day today. Dr. Firdaus, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so here we have our speaker of the day. Kindly introduce him.
Okay, thank you, sir. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Dr. Firdaus Fadal Isaf from Aga's Welfare Foundation and Medical Dose Code team. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our speaker, Brother Rafeeq. Brother Rafeeq is a software engineer and founder of job portal jobsamine.com. He holds a master's degree in computer science and working as a software consultant, assisting various public sector clients in UK to develop their IT system based in Manchester, UK. He is passionate in assisting and delivering speeches beneficial to job seekers and recruitment industry. So now I welcome Brother Rafeeq to enlighten on this topic. I hand over the session to Brother Rafeeq. Thank you.
From here, I'm unsharing my screen. Brother Rafeeq, you can share your screen and we'll start working on. Thank you, and the floor is yours now.
Assalamu alaikum, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and thank you all for organizers to getting this organized. It's quite an important topic. Though we speak on various topics in today's marketplace, when there are less jobs and more people competing for jobs. Am I okay? Okay, so it's quite an important topic. Though we talk about interviews, though we talk about where to find jobs, but the first step in a job search process is your CV. So unless we prepare a proper CV, we will not get an opportunity to get shortlisted for an interview. Okay, so interview is next, showing your skills is next, but to get that opportunity, you need to write a good CV. CV is the first weapon, first tool, marketing tool that you use to market yourself. So unless you write your CV properly, there is less chance of getting shortlisted and getting an opportunity to present yourself in the interview. And if someone who makes some extra effort to project their skills by writing a good CV, they get the chance to go to the interview and prove the skills and get the job. And today, in today's talk, I'm going to talk about how to write a good CV, what things not to write in a CV, some common mistakes that people make. There are very subtle, small changes, small things that you need to concentrate on. These small issues, right, that will either get you a job, or that will you will get rejected from getting an opportunity for the interview. So let's go and see what they are. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so today what we are going to talk about is, we are going to see why CV is important. I'm going to stress more on this topic because we think that it's just a piece of paper where we write a few details and then send off to the recruiter, and then we will wait for the interview to come. And if it doesn't come, we start blaming there is partiality, there is bad luck, this, that. No, it's not like that. There is a difference between why someone gets shortlisted and why someone does not get shortlisted. So the recruiter has not seen you, the recruiter has not spoken to you. All he sees is your piece of paper, which is curriculum vitae or resume, which you send to the recruiter to say, yes, I'm qualified for this profession, I'm qualified, give me an opportunity for the interview. So we are going to see importance and how there are various ways of writing CV. It has to be written in a particular order, and somehow not to write CVs also we will cover, and we will see the common, very basic mistakes that the candidates are making nowadays. So these basic mistakes, if you avoid, you will be qualified, you will be having skills, you will have all the skills that the other successful candidate has. But these common mistakes, it's more of a problem of plenty today. So there are more candidates for less jobs, and the recruiter, he just goes through a filtration process. If there are 2 candidates, he sees their CV, who has gone put some extra effort to project his skills better, he gets shortlisted. So there are some mistakes, common mistakes that you can avoid too. We will see what they are. Next slide, please. So, okay, before we go into the actual topic, let's look at some statistics. These statistics are quite shocking. These stats are based on the job market in US, but in India it is relative. Okay, the stats might change a little bit, but it's not entirely different. So for any job, any common job that gets advertised, right, there are 50 CVs or resume or applications that are received. Of the 50 CVs, only 4 get shortlisted for the interview. So what happens to the 46? They get rejected of some criteria. So what are the criteria? And of the 4 to 6 that get called to interviews, only 1 gets a job. See, from 50 candidates, only 1 gets a job. Why? Only 4 get an opportunity to present their skills in an interview. But to get an opportunity, 44 or 46 people have failed to utilize that opportunity. So on an average, a recruiter receives a lot of CVs. So he spends to scan your CV roughly 30 seconds, depending upon how busy he is, depending upon how many roles, how many parallel roles he is recruiting for. Depending upon these aspects, he will spend approximately 30 seconds. So you have to put an effort to catch his attention in the 30 seconds by presenting your information in a nice manner and presenting the right kind of information. So there are so many things that candidates write that are not needed, that are not value addition to the CV. We will go into them one by one. So various aspects that you write on CV, there are some certain statistics that says that 68% of the people, 68% of the recruiter, this is true, I'm not making up the statistics. Go and find out what you do on LinkedIn, what you do on Twitter, what you do on Facebook. For 68%, 68%, and a lot of rejections happen at that stage. So see, we live in a democratic world. Okay, everyone has an opinion. You can express it, but express it in a decent manner that is constructive for the topic being discussed, rather than using obscene words or very harmful words that are that might impact somebody personally, or words that are against the law. Sometimes somebody issues a threat on Facebook, he issues a threat on LinkedIn. Even in LinkedIn, people have started to fight with one another depending upon their political ideologies. So keep these, contain these, okay, keep them under control. So even these can go against you, your application. And 76% of the CVs are ignored based on the email you use. I stress this fact. It is a fact. Many candidates gets rejected based on the unprofessional email IDs they use. Okay, the unprofessional email IDs. For example, I need a job now at some gmail.com, which shows your desperation. It shows you are frustrated. It shows that you don't have patience. So don't use such email addresses. Use a professional email address. The general nomenclature followed in the industries: first name dot last name at the email provider.com, or first character of the first name. For example, in my case, it is M, and then the surname Rafeeq at gmail.com, something like that, which shows that by looking at the email ID, we can find out who the candidate is. So use email addresses, something of that format, or do not use unprofessional email addresses like fan of xyz at gmail.com, xyz hater at gmail.com. I see such email IDs. I'm telling you based on my experience. I'm not making up these things. So don't use such unprofessional email addresses. And a lot of CVs have got grammar mistakes, spelling mistakes. These things are very, very, very basic. It is not expected from you, from a candidate, to have spelling mistakes. So every software file, if you are using MS Word, or if you are using some other, say, open source MS Word format, every of the software has got a tool for checking a spelling and grammar. Please use them wisely. Before you send out the CV, do a spell check. So based on spell check also, candidates get rejected. And people don't even write their college name without spelling. Instead of college, they write college. College name is spelled wrongly. So if you can't spell your college name properly, so what pride do you have with the college? You are not being proud of you having studied in some XYZ college. So the reader of the CV could be your alumni. He could be from the same college, and he will know what the college name is. It is possible. And if you find that you are not spelling your college name properly, he will reject your CV. And a lot of spelling mistakes I see from the candidates, which are easy to avoid. Okay, and 35% of the candidates who apply for job, some candidates, what happens, for example, some job roles, they say I need these qualification for this role. Find out whether you have the qualification first, otherwise do not apply. Some job advertisements say I need this degree. So for example, BSc or BCom, or some specific degree. They say I want a candidate with MBA background, or say MCA background, MSc IT background. If you have the qualification, do apply. Only 35% of the candidates have the right qualification. Rest of them are just applying blindly. And 68% of the resumes, they have some accomplishments, they have some awards that they have won during college, they have some scores, or your college scores, university scores, or your school marks that you can highlight. If they are highlightable, they can highlight. But 68% of the candidates, they don't do it. These are some common mistakes you can avoid, you have to avoid. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, some common causes for rejecting a resume: impersonal application. For example, 84% of the people apply the wrong way. When I say apply the wrong way, when they write an application, in the subject they don't write anything. We don't know for what role he's applying for. And See, they don't address it to the hiring manager. Job advertisement has got a name of the hiring manager in the job advertisement. So note down that name, and when you write your application, dear, and then use the first name. Don't use the last name. Dear first name, and then use the appropriate title. Whether he could be a doctor, it could be a Mister. If it's a guy, use a Mister. If you know for sure it is a lady who is married, use Miss, or use Miss if she is single, if you know for sure, or it is safe to use MS, which means if you're unsure about the status of the lady hiring manager, if it's a lady, just use MS and use the first name. If you don't use a surname, always address by the first name. That is a normal industry culture. For example, if you address me, I address me as Mohammed, but I have, for people who know me for years, they call me by my last name. I've already informed them I prefer to be called by my last name. So, and some people, what they do is they write to whomsoever it may concern, which means I don't know who you are, I don't know who the hiring manager is, I have not taken the effort to find out who the hiring manager is, I don't care who you are, just give me the job. It means that when you say to whomsoever it may concern. If you are unsure who the hiring manager name is, if it is not disclosed in the job advertisements, safe way is to address it, dear hiring manager. That is enough. That is better than just writing to whomsoever it may concern. And some resumes, 54% of the resumes are not customized to the role they are applied. For example, if you are applying for a in terms of a software engineer, there could be so many roles within a software engineer. He could be a front-end developer, he could be a back-end developer, he could be a DevOps engineer, he could be an IT person, he could be a desktop support engineer. Whatever it is, whatever role they have advertised, customize your CV. There's nothing called one size fit all approach. You should not send the same CV to all roles that you apply for. Customize for each role you apply, customize the CV a bit. Just see what keywords they are looking for, what skills they are looking for. Bring those skills forward. Juggle your CV a bit. Certain skills you have to project better, highlight it better than other skills. Okay. For example, if someone is asking for a Java developer, you might have done a Python course. You might have done some other Oracle course. So if you have done any Python course, bring it to the top in your skills section. Bring Python to the top, and do include the version number. Okay. For example, if someone is applying for an accountant role, if he has asked for competence in MS Excel, if you have done some certification, highlight that. If you have attended any extra courses, any extra training on that skill, highlight that. Rather than just telling, I know internet, I know MS Office, right? MS Office is made up of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, so many things. So be specific on what skills you have and highlight them appropriately. And after the interview, 57% of the people, they don't write a thank you note, and some people don't even write the cover letter. That's very, very basic. It's really sorry to see this state of affairs, and they just send the CV, and the recruiter has to scratch his head to for what role has he applied. Even in IT, even in accountants, there could be some specific roles, 2 roles you might have. But mostly the recruiters, they deal with 2-3 roles they're hiring for parallelly. So if you don't write what role you're applying for, if you don't write some covering note, why you are a better candidate compared to the other candidates, you're losing your chances. So since he has to go through a lot of pile of CVs, whoever gives the information in a way that is easy to locate, he gets shortlisted for the interview, and the other candidates, they don't give a first best impression. And once interview is over, you need to follow up with the employer to show that you like the role, why you like the role, and when can you expect some updates on the role. You need to follow up with the recruiter. Don't just go to the interview or application process and just sit idle. So as I said, it's a problem of plenty now. If whoever is proactive, such candidates are liked by employers than candidates who need a lot of encouragement and who need a lot of hand holding. Such candidates are not preferred, because It's a busy world, busy industry. Business economies are growing fast, and employers don't want to spend time on candidates who need extra coaching. Can you go to the next slide, please? So when a recruiter looks at your CV, what does it expect? So first, he will see, in case of experienced candidates, whether you have the required candidate experience. Some job roles say I need 1 year experience for that role, and he will see whether you have that experience or not. That is the first thing he will notice. Second thing, he will see whether you are a cultural fit. 60% of the employees look for that. For example, what does that mean? If it is a leadership role, or if it is a senior management role, or if it is a team player's role that is expected. He will see for attributes whether you have been a team player. If it is a single contributor role, for example, there could be some small projects where someone has to work on his own, not part of the such team. So whether you exhibited such attributes. For example, if it's a one-man team, one-man project, for which some small companies now sometimes they do have. So in such, you have to project that you have handled things single-handedly if you are a fresher during your academic projects. You can say, I handled this academic project on my own, rather than telling I worked as part of 10-member team, 30-member team. And you have to tell what you have done. The recruiter is interested in you, not your project. I'm not interested in your team. I'm not interested what the project does. I'm not interested what the screen, how the screen looks like, how many buttons it has. Recruiter is not interested in it. Recruiter is interested in it, in what you have done in the project. Your contribution is what you need to highlight. And whether you have written cover letters or not, 26 people, percentage of the recruiters, they look for whether you have written something about you as an introduction, which will prompt him to read the rest of the CV. If the cover letters and if the initial impression is not good, sometimes they don't go into the CV at all. They don't even open the CV. And the CV name first. This is also important. The name of the CV, right? You need to use the appropriate name. Again, use the name, format of your name, and then your profile, and then the extension. For example, Ravi Java developer fresher.doc. That's reading the file name gives the employer an impression who you are, what you're looking for. The entire purpose of a cover letter is shrunk into one line of your file name. So what the recruiter does is, once he's shortlisted, he puts your CV, he stores your CV in appropriate folder on his PC. So if you see the file name and it is relevant to what your role you're applying for, he knows which folder he needs to store instantly. You're making his shortlisting process easier. See, I said small things, minute things matter. These are few things that you need to concentrate on. I see file names null.pdf. What does that mean? You have not put the extra effort to rename the file meaningfully. So file names also matter. And when the recruiter looks at your CV, if someone is from a prestigious college, that's fine. Write the college name and the grades you have achieved. So if someone could have got CGP of 8 or 9 or 9.5, whatever it is. As a fresher, as an entry-level professional, you don't have much to write. You don't have much to project from your profile. These grades are something that you can highlight if you have the highlightable grades. Okay, so when there are two candidates, one is a first class, one is a second class. First class candidates, provided he has other skills that are needed for, he will be shortlisted for the interview. Next slide, please. So recruiter, what they expect from a candidate is, they want 63% of the recruiters, they want a CV that is customized for the role. If you don't customize, you're putting extra work, you're giving extra work for the recruiter to figure out whether you're appropriate for the role or not. Okay, so for example, I always take the example of a software engineer. Please excuse me. If the role is for a Java developer, don't just write Java, on your CV. Write what version of Java you know, because the version of a software skill also matters. Java 8 is different from Java 7, totally different. So if you know Java 7, there is more Java 8 plus, you have better chances of getting shortlisted. So include version numbers of software as well, and project yourself confidently. Even if you have done basic Java, don't write basic Java, write Java 8 plus, I can code. And if you have done any projects on the skills required for, write on many CVs. When there are 6 candidates, 5 candidates, do not write anything about their academic project. One candidate takes the pain of writing one line about what academic project he has done that is relevant for the role you are applying for. So that one line will will increase his chances of getting shortlisted. And you always should highlight your skills with appropriate version number, and wherever applicable, write a short description about a short cover letter about why you are applying for the role, what role you are applying for, and why you are better than the other candidates. Write something for the reasons, like you have done certification, you have done extra course apart from your academics studies. These things you can write in your cover letter. And application, you always address it to the hiring manager. And very importantly, if you blog, if you write some blogs, or if you vlog, video vlogging, okay, wherever it is, YouTube or somewhere, that are productive, okay, that are useful for others. And if you are writing some articles on platforms like medium.com, and if you have done constructed some websites for some clients, some freelancing projects that you have done, write them. And if you have any version control stored on repositories like GitHub, which is applicable for software. So if you have done some coding already, some projects already, and that are available in public repositories, give a link to your work, give a link to your online work, give a link to your references to your online work that are verifiable. Okay, and that gives an extra impression compared to, I have just finished my course, I have no clue what I need to do next, give me a job. Don't go to approach an employer like this. Go to an employer telling, this is what I have studied, this is what I have done apart from studies, this is my passion, where I do some freelancing work for some clients, and this is my passion. I increase my knowledge to write my learning to benefit others on blogs. Write such things on your covering letters, on your CV as well. These things are very important, and recruiters search for such things if you have provided. If you have provided, then you have got better chance. Next slide, please. So what is a CV? CV is a purpose. The purpose of your CV is to market yourself. So for example, consider yourself as a product. So when you go to some shopping mall, you buy a product. And before you buy a product, you just look at the brochure first, the product brochure first. So your CV is your personal product brochure. Okay, you are selling yourself, your skills, your education to find a job, to solve a specific business problem and get compensated for that in the form of a salary. So if the product brochure is not printed proper, if it has got mistakes, if it has not projected the why the product is better, if will you buy the product, you will not buy the product. It's the same in the case of CV as well. If you don't write your CV properly, why should a recruiter hire you? Because you will have the abilities, but you have to project it appropriately in the CV. So next slide, please. So CV and resume, they are not the same. You see, these terms are used interchangeably in the industry, but in India, it doesn't really matter whether you call it a CV or resume, but there are some minor differences between CV and resume. You need to know, you need to be aware of that. CV is a Latin word, okay? And it means course of life, which means how we have progressed in your life from starting. That is called CV, curriculum vitae. But resume is a French word, which means summary. So generally, resume are short, concise, summarized. It doesn't have too much of details. And CV is just the opposite. It has got too much detail, every detail possible. And in resume, you don't have to write all your history, work history. You can juggle your work order to suit the role you are applying for. For example, sometimes people shift careers. Okay, they could be a teacher one day, and next day they want to progress on to become an accountant or some other, or lawyer. Even they might have completed BL degree while they were doing a teaching job. Whatever role you are applying for, have relevant experience on that, and you can even remove some in the resume. But in CV, you write everything. Generally, for academic roles, for example, teaching roles, you write a CV where you need to give a reference to a lot of your work you have done, a lot of every conferences you have gone, every research project you have been part of, who was the guide, what you did. Such things you write in CV. Resume is short and concise. So that's all you need to know. Don't worry too much about this. And don't worry too much about the CV size as well, because at entry-level professionals, you don't have much to write. You don't have more than 3 pages to write. So don't worry about, don't be conscious about the length of the CV. Only if someone is 20 years, 30 years experience, he has a lot of things to write. So don't be conscious about the size of the CV. Keep it 3 to 4 pages long, up to, if possible. Okay, can you go to the next slide, please? So first impressions is always important for the recruiter. And when a recruiter opens your CV, and first 36, he will look for 3 things. Are you qualified for the job? Do you have the proper qualification, the proper degree, proper background? And do you have the commercial experience, that is past experience, which is not applicable for freshers, so don't worry about it. And he will also look whether you're passionate and enthusiastic about the job. Employers don't want people who want to work 9 to 5:30 and go home. They want people who are passionate, who want to be an accountant, who want to be a lawyer, who want to find justice to their clients. So such things, mention such things on your CV. And if you're a software engineer, you, rather than developing software, right, I can develop high quality software with no bugs and properly tested software, and the quality of the code is of high standards. Mention such things. Rather than telling I can develop software, mention I can develop high quality software with no bugs, easily maintainable and easily readable. If you write such things, that shows that you have put extra effort to find out what does it take to be a good software engineer, and whether you have that abilities or not. So such things also matter when you send your CV. Can we go to the next slide, please? And it's all, the CV is all about you, It's not about your team. It's not about your project. It's not a user manual. Some projects, some candidates, they write about their project, which says I had 4 screens, there are 3 buttons, there are 2 text boxes. This is nothing but a user manual. So your CV should not be a user manual. Either your CV should be about you. What value can you as a candidate can bring to the table? It should be about you. It should draw attention to your relevant skills and experience, and it should give a first impression that, given a chance, you can be evaluated. It is worth spending time to interview you to find out whether you're relevant for this job or not. So the CV is for this purpose. Next slide, please. So when you send the CV, the first impressions count a lot. Okay, use a consistent look and feel. Use an appropriate template. There are a lot of free templates available on the internet. Just Google CV template on Google. Go and in the search box, type CV templates. Search. There are a lot of free CV templates available in the internet. Download them, customize them. Don't just download and then by not changing some parts of the CV. And I find a lot of candidates, they use some very nice CV templates, which is appreciated. But what they do is, after some time, some certain sections they don't change. It is as whatever text was available in the template, it is still there. One section in the CV says change me. He has not even noticed that. He has sent the CV which says change me. So what impression does it give the employer? Don't do such mistakes. Use a professional template. It may not be jazzy, okay? It has to convey the message, that's all. It may not have too many colors, unless you are applying for a Unless you're applying for a graphic designer or creative roles, you don't have to use infographics, or you don't have to use colors. Just stick to the basics. Use black and white font only. There is a specific reason I emphasize this fact, use black and white only, because certain candidates, they use colors, jazzy colors, certain, there are lights, GIFs they are used with animations they use. See, when the employer prints your CV, right, he prints it in black and white. He will never, most less chances, less than 1% chance that he will print it in a color. When you print your CV, when you write your CV on green, when it gets printed, certain information may not get printed properly. Some may be formatted wrongly, some may be printed in a light background, which prevents the readability of your CV. So don't use colors, stick to the basics, stick to black and white. If you print in black and white, when it gets printed, it will get printed in black and white. And there is one more important reason I'll tell you. Suppose you might like blue. The reader of the CV, right, the recruiter, the hiring manager, he might hate blue. He might, okay? So you are giving an opportunity for the employer to discriminate you based on this. You might, most of the female candidates, they like subtle colors like pink, and that guy might hate pink, okay? If you do that, you're giving an opportunity for him to discriminate against you. Don't give that opportunity. Stick to the basics. Black and white is fine. Proofread. No spelling mistakes, no grammar mistakes. There should be consistency. And if you do, don't use complex fonts as well, because whatever you give, right, it gets parsed by a software called application tracking system. So it has to parse the information and store it in their database. And if you use some complex tabular structure, some certain information is not parsable. So it will be partially parsed, and in the report that it gives to the hiring manager, it says unparsed CVs. So whoever CVs have been passed, he need not go to the pains of reading through the rest of the CV. Whoever CV is parsable and readable in appropriate format, he will just go through the CVs, and if he has reached the required number of CVs, every recruiter will have a target. I need 5 CVs, 10 CVs, 20 CVs. If he has reached the target, he will not even read, he will not even open the rest of the CVs. Okay, so you need to do the maximum so that you go into his predefined number of shortlisted numbers that he needs. So if you're doing mistakes, there is you are increasing your chances of getting rejected. And many people, they don't give the layout of their information properly. One starts here, one starts here. They have to align properly. So you don't use complex templates as well. Use simple templates, straight to the point, and write your skills. And when you use, can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. So when you write your name as in your passport. First name and middle name together, if applicable, or first name and last name. Certain South Indian CVs, what they have a cultural practice there of using initial instead of using their family name. They use initial. For example, Rafeeq they write, and what is the recruiter will not know what it is. So when it goes stored into your application tracking system, it will go as Rafeeq. And sometimes in some big employers, this never gets changed once it gets into the system. So what happens in the what complexities does it offer? For example, you have not given the name as in passport. It goes into the system as what you have written. Forever it will be like that in your records. In case of insurance claims, in times of pension fund claims, in times of inheritance, in some cases when some employer passes away, your family has to get some compensation for that. If the name is not proper, you will get into a lot of legal issues. These things matter a lot. See, each and every bit matters a lot. So write your name as in passport, and use verbs like organized, delivered, accomplished, achieved. Don't just write, I came here, I switched on a computer, I went home. That is very boring to read. Same thing can be written in the financial in a manner like I came to office, I switched on the lab, computers, I checked whether it has consuming extra electricity. I switched off some monitors to conserve electricity. If you write like that, it shows that you have a concern towards business objectives and to preserve resources. Both are doing the same. One guy is coming, switching on the computer and switching off the computer in the evening. But the other guy, the way he writes is he is conserving energy. He shows his concern for the environment. So use such verbs like organize, delivered, accomplished. Write your achievements rather than your roles and responsibilities, which are quite mundane. Every candidate writes the same. So while reading, if you write something separate, that catches the attention of the recruiter. You need to put that extra effort. And always be honest. Do not boast a lot. Okay, to some extent you can use keywords, but if you and if there are too many gaps on your CV, explain it appropriately. Okay, for example, some people drop off for a year or two for some family business, or somebody is ill in their family. That is all right. That is and employees will understand that. They will not be penalized for that, but explain that in one line, telling this time to this time I was taking care of family business, I was taking care of a family member who was ill. If you write that, that's fine. And if you leave that gap on your CV, the employer will think, is he trying to hide something? So then he will say, okay, let's look if there are better CVs. If there are better CVs, they will get a chance and you will not get a chance. Next CV, please. Next slide. So a good CV has to be clear. It has to be well formatted. It has to convey the message properly. It has to follow 5 C's. It has to be concise. Don't include any irrelevant information. And don't include any irrelevant role information as well. Irrelevant skills not needed for the role, don't include them, and have it complete. That is, write every of your information, every of your experience, every of your project, every of your academic competitions you have done too. If you have not done any, see, sometimes if you might have been a captain of a cricket club, okay, and many people don't write it. That is very pathetic. You have to write every little detail, because being a cricket captain shows that you have the leadership ability. Okay, it shows that you can organize a team. It shows that you can perform under pressure. It shows that you can score when it is needed. It can show that you can slow down the route. You can create the strike. So a lot of positive traits it shows when you say that I have been a captain of a cricket club, being in part of NCC, being part of NSS, or being part of some road track club or whatever applicable. NCC is such a valuable thing to put on your CV, even if you apply for a private role, because NCC is such a disciplined force where you perform under pressure, where you learn leadership skills, where you physically you get trained in a lot of things, how to get organized, how to listen to a leader. So all these things are quite positive. They give a good impression to the employer. Don't miss out. As a fresher, every little detail you have to include. And don't use jazzy fonts, because use subtle and stick to the basics, stick to the regular fonts. And it has a good CV has to be current, that is, it has to be up to date. Don't just rush home and then take an old CV, write 2 lines and then send it to an employer. Take the time, sit, go to a corner, sit quietly and think what you have done. And while you're working, while you're studying itself, keep your CV updated. Sometimes we forget what we are doing in a project. So when you have that fresh in memory, go and update your CV. Have an update of keeping your CV updated all the time. I do that every couple of months. I keep my CV updated because I keep forgetting things. Certain project details, certain minor details, I might forget. So when I have that is fresh in memory, I do and write on my CV. Okay, next slide, please. Don't write your CV in a rush. Don't lie. Never lie, because they can easily find out. And we also have some advanced way of background verification today. We have earlier in many years back, the chances of this was less, but now there are more organized way, and the employer gives the background verification process to an external agency. An external agency physically goes and verifies. Sometimes they go to the company they have worked, they check whether you have worked, they will talk to a HR manager, they talk to a colleague and find out whether you have worked or not. So don't never lie. Once you lie once, and if you're caught, you will be blacklisted in the company. And very important thing, certain younger younger applicants, what they write is, they write their personal details. That's absolutely not needed. They write their blood group. That's not needed. They write their date of birth. That's not needed at all. The job is not given based on whether you're married or not. The job is not given based on what your father's name is. They don't care about what your permanent address is. The reason they ask for an address is to find out whether you are a local candidate or not, whether you reside in Mumbai, whether you reside in Pune, whether you reside in Hyderabad, whether you reside in Chennai, because local candidates are always preferred compared to candidates who are far off, because there is less chance of relocation cost, and there are social aspects as well. Sometimes some candidates, they don't join the job after being offered a role. So don't use irrelevant personal details. Never ever use your date of birth, passport number, date of issue, date of expiry, whether you're married or not, whether what your father's name is, what your mother's name. No one cares about it. Okay, job is not given. Whatever you write, just ask yourself, do you think a job will be given based on this information you're writing? If you think yes, write it. Otherwise, don't write it. Okay, and don't just write your duties as what you did, mundane. Just write accomplishments, achievements, rather than what you did on a day-to-day basis. And use stick to the basics. Use the regular fonts. Don't use jazzy fonts. Next slide, please. And this slide, it's an infographic which highlights the gravity of mistakes that people make based on the major mistake, medium mistake, minor mistake. You can go through this slide later when I share it. It is quite self-explanatory. I'll cover just the major ones. Not say tailoring the CV for the role applied. It's a major mistake. Not giving enough. I saw one CV which neither had an email address, that did not have a phone number. How else should I contact the candidate? He has forgotten. He has not paid attention to detail. He has, he himself has conveyed that don't hire me, because you're not given your contact details. How can I contact you? Include all your information and give one phone number or maximum 2 phone numbers. Don't write 3, 4 numbers. The recruiter will be scratching his head which number to call. Don't do that. And 30% of the candidates in India, 30%, this is real fact. In my experience, I'm telling, they don't pick up the phone when the recruiter calls. Either they would have kept the phone somewhere else, either they would have put it on silent. That's fine. Some, like for example, during prayer times, or when you're traveling somewhere, you might have put it on silent. But when you have your voicemail set up, okay, so that the recruiter can leave a message when he calls and you don't pick up. Okay, and if you see a missed call, do respond back. I have called a few candidates 8 times, 10 times, 12 times, they don't pick up the phone. That means, okay, I get the impression that they don't want to be hired. I just go to the next candidate. So pick up the call or respond to the call later, telling I saw a missed call from this number, and can discuss the role. Wrong sequence of roles. When they write their education, they just jumble up. Write it in a particular order. The most recent one should be on the top, and then it should be in the reverse order. The most recent project, reverse order. Most recent training you attended, reverse order. It has to be in this order always. 5th reason, never ever have grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes. Always you can do a spell check. The software has the facility. You can do that, and then give आपके CV को कोई दोस्त या फैमिली मेंबर्स को दो कि वो रिव्यू कर सके बिफोर यू सेंड आउट टू अ रिक्रूटर. समझे? तो ऐसा करने से क्या होता है, समटाइम्स हमको थोड़े मिस्टेक्स फाइंड आउट नहीं करते हैं. So these mistakes can be found out by a neutral reader. He comes as freshly, he will look at your CV and he will easily spot, see, here you have made a mistake. I find such mistakes even in the most experienced candidates, 20 years experience, even they don't review it. There is a mistake they are making. They are minimizing their chances of getting hired. Using false information, never boast. And then if some skill is just 1 year old in the market, don't say I have 3 years of knowledge in that skill. When it was released just 1 year back, how did you have 3 years of experience in that? Such things don't make up. And remember to change the CV template when you use a template. And the rest of the reasons you can go through yourself. It is self-explanatory. Next slide, please. A typical CV can look like this. On that, this is in here. If you see, I just added it as an example. Your CV need not be like this. It could be like this. And he has used a client colors. This is for creative purposes. You can use just black and white. Name, what role what your graphic designer on the top, which means he knows that he is a graphic designer. And on the skills side, he has used infographics, which means one skill he knows a lot. Photoshop is full red. That means he is more competent in the Photoshop. Illustrator, middle level, and film editing, even less. And even in work experience, he has stated 2020 till present, which shows that what length he has. You use always the month and the year is enough. No date, you don't need to write. This time to this time, I worked as this role and I did this. And in the contact information, in this, if you see, he has used some icons instead of writing the word address. Okay, using the word text instead of text, he has used an icon. And today's ATS, they are quite advanced and they can spot these icons and they can interpret that icons as well. So conserve space. Okay, right? Instead of using a text address, instead of using text phone number, he knows when he knows the number, he will know it is a phone. So use an icon instead. For email, use an icon. This is some examples. And education, reverse order. Always write the most recent on the top and the oldest on the bottom. And in the about section, see, this CV is a template. Okay, and certain in the text it will have a lot of some websites, which means the default CV will have such text. Change the text before you send. I see some CVs where the default text is still there. It's outright rejection of such candidates. Next slide, please. And in the top, you write a meaningful objective. If you write an objective, make it look meaningful. Rather than gathering, copying from some other CV, a friend's CV, some family member's CV, and writing things which are meaningless, using every vocabulary in the dictionary, rather than doing that, it has to imply something. Look at these two, first objective and the second objective. Between these two objectives, which objective is more meaningful for you? You decide. When they recruit, every candidate writes the first objective, which is meaningless, totally meaningless. Rather than write one line meaningful for the role you're applying for. For example, the second objective you see, seeking an entry-level software engineer role anywhere in India, which gives an impression that you are willing to relocate. The candidate is very clear on what he wants, what he is looking for, what he is targeting. Employers, recruiters love such CVs. And the first objective is very generic, too far. It is implying too many different meanings, and that is not customized to what he is looking for. So write meaningful objectives if you write it. Next slide, please. First name I have covered. A CV should have your first name as in records, as in a passport, and it should have a proper email that do not expire. And if you write an email, please check it. Please check at least few times a day. On a weekday, you should definitely check many times a day. On weekends, employees don't communicate. So once a few times, if you check your emails, that's fine. And if you are not reachable on the phone, he emails telling, I called you, you could not, can you call me back? Okay, so check your emails, write a proper email that's not expired. Don't confuse the recruiter by giving him 3 email addresses, 4 email addresses. What purpose does it serve? Just give 1 email address and check it proper. That's enough. When you write phone numbers, use appropriate ISD code or land. If you give landline numbers, give the proper STD codes. For example, someone applying from South, the recruiter has to go and find out what the STD code of that particular city is. And when you give address, just give one address of where you are currently living. For example, you could be from somewhere, some small town, some small village, but you could be living in Mumbai, then give the Mumbai's address. Okay, the reason that this address matters is the employer has to figure out where you live now and whether is it easy for you to come for an interview. Okay, and if you give two addresses, current address, permanent address, temporary address, the recruiter is confused whether you are a local candidate or not. Okay, you are making it hard for him to investigate more to figure out that out. So don't do such mistakes. Write a one location. You don't need to give full address even. Just tell the city name we are living in. That is sufficient. And write all your educations, whatever you have done. For example, if you are a graduate, write your graduate and then your 10th standard, 12th standard, 12th or PUC, whatever you call it in the north. In south, they call it +2. And it's called HSC as well. And then you write your SSLC, that is your 10th standard marks. Give it in what vocational subjects you took, what marks you scored, write them. And if you have won any awards, if you have won any prizes, definitely include that on your CV. Never miss out even a small accomplishment. Okay, if you have even if you have not won any awards, the mere fact if you say that I have attended certain paper presentation, I have attended certain competitions, shows that you are willing to compete. That shows that you go and do some preparation before you go for a competition. You are not just one another mundane candidate who just comes to college and after finishing his degree has got no clue what he wants to do. You are not like that. You're different from the other candidates. Any awards or honors or awards, mention them. Next slide, please. And professional experience is for the experienced candidates. And if you have done any participated in any research for academic roles, for teaching roles, write them and write any publications, what publication, I mean, where it got published, which year it got published, name of the journal, include them, give proper verifiable information. And if you have done any extracurricular activities, volunteering experience, wow, I missed an important thing. If you have volunteered somewhere, write it. Don't miss out. It shows that you are willing to volunteer for a good cause. Give your time, and even in volunteering, you learn a lot. You learn how a lot of administrative tasks. You do a lot of PR. You do a lot of social media. You do a lot of communicating with the customers, communicating with the various stakeholders. So if you do involve in a voluntary role, be it any organization, mention that on your CV. Okay, and if you have done any certifications, okay, any extra, for example, Sun certification or account tally certification in case of accountancy, in law there could be some certification. Any industry you work in, if there are certifications you have done, mention them on the CV. And if you have done any added qualifications, any extra courses that you have done, for example, that might not be part of your curriculum, it could be something extra that you have learned in the private institute by going after of college hours or before college hours if you have attended, mention the added qualification. Next slide, please. And see, main things that employees look, I have already covered this: education, experience, leisurely interest, and specific skills. See, when it comes to interests, see, a CV has to project your personality as well. Okay, it need not be always boring things. Okay, for example, if you participate in some charity that feeds the needy, write about it. And right after your education, what you do, how you spend your time, what are your thoughts on various topics. You'll blog on something, write your thoughts on blogging, write into such information. Bring out your personality. Okay, don't just write. You're not a machine. You're a human being. Okay, after you doing a job, you have a personality of your own. Project that. And if you have specific skills, for example, foreign language skills, if you have, some have French knowledge, German knowledge, or Arabic knowledge, they can read and write. If you have such extra skills, write them. Many times these are useful because they might have a client who is a French, who is a German, who is a say Polish, who is a Portuguese, or even who could be a client in GCC. If you have written skills, that you have a linguistic skills that will be useful in communicating with such clients, you get a better chance. For example, in some Middle Eastern countries, if you have a local license, not the Indian license, if you have a local license, which is harder to get, If you mention that you have a local license, that is of value addition, because you can travel, you can drive on your own, so you're not dependent upon employers transportation system. So it gives that impression. Write such things. Next slide, please. So in education, write the most recent one on the top, and write your college name, your degree name properly, which year you completed, what course you completed, what was covered in that course, and what marks you did. And if when you write a project, don't just write I did a project. Some candidates said I did an academic project. What project was that? I want to know what project was that, what you did in that project. I just don't want to know you did something. That something means nothing. That has to be of some value addition to validate your application. Okay, so write more details about your thesis, your dissertation, if you have, write the details properly. And next slide, please. So a typical education section on your CV looks like this. For example, the most latest has to be on the top, 2011 till present. That means he's currently doing, he's in final semester possibly, which university or which college he studied, what degree he studied, and what was covered in that. For example, I can just write BSc Physics. So what does it deal about? Does it deal about nuclear science? Does it deal about fluid dynamics? Does it deal about electronics? If you write it, yeah, if that modules are relevant to the role you are applying for, you have a better chance of getting shortlisted. And also in the last qualification he has written, 8 GCC. That means it's a British system. So which means that he has got more qualifications in 10. They are not limited by the number of subjects they can. More the number of GCSEs they have done, they have got a better chance because they have put extra effort to learn extra subjects. Next slide, please. If you have any honors and awards, if you have any scholarships, okay, mention what scholarships, because scholarships are not issued to everybody. There is a criteria. Of course, there is some economic criteria. He has to have certain within certain economic limits. But apart from that, there are other evaluation as well, looking at your past economic behavior, past educational achievements, past any extracurricular activities, and your general behavior in your college. All such factors are considered before a scholarship is given. So if you have received a scholarship, that is quite prestigious. Write it on your CV. Don't miss it out. And honors and awards I have covered already. And write something relevant to, don't write. And in some hobby section, I find people writing chatting with friends. How is this of value addition to your CV? Do not write. If in your hobby section, if you can write something of value, for example, if you are applying for a role in tourism, then traveling to different places can be of value addition. Meeting new friends, if you write it for a role that you're applying for, customer service, that means that you're comfortable talking to different people in a pleasant manner, you're comfortable with interacting with others. Such things, if you write in hobbies, it is of value addition rather than writing chatting with friends. That is of no value addition to anyone. Internet browsing, movies. If you're applying for a media role, movies, your knowledge of movies can be of value addition. But if you're applying for a teacher role or a software engineer role, watching movies, if you write as a hobby, it's of no value addition. Next slide, please. Yeah, okay. This is for more experienced candidates. We don't need for this audience. We can go to the next slide, please. So work experience even. So this work experience can even be your internship experience. Okay. Write your most relevant on the top and the earlier rows below that. Okay, it need not be a work experience for experienced candidates. For less experienced candidates, even there you can write your academic internships, paid internship, or whether paid or unpaid. If you have done some internships, attended some in-plant training program, if you have attended some industry visits, write that. Even that can be of relevance to the role you're applying for. And when you write it properly. For example, in this example, dates, write the dates properly, which month, which year. Okay, Instead of April Fool, you can just write APR. That is 3 letters. You are conserving space. APR 2020 from till this, where you did the internship. And if you see this description as a shop assistant, I have learned the importance of providing great customer service to maximize sales. All he has done is being a customer service agent. But see the way he writes it, to provide great customer service, not normal customer service, great customer service to maximize sales. That is, he has done his job as a customer service agent, and by providing a pleasant customer service, he has increased the sales as well. So he is striking 2 fruits in with 1 shot. He is telling that I have done his job, and he has also done that he has achieved some business results, business goals, business objectives as well. So that shows that he has got that commercial acumen within him. I'm also responsible for organizing stock and ensuring that costs are controlled. Every line is impactful. All he has done is just arrange the stocks on the shelves. Okay, but see the way he writes it. Responsible for organizing the rods and ensuring the cost. He is not ordering extra cost, extra stock, or he is not delaying the ordering of stocking up of the stock. It means that ensuring costs are controlled. It again is quite impactful. Carrying out weekly risk assessment and increasement awareness of health. And so he is also writing what he has learned extra on his job that he did not have. It's a beautiful way of writing. He has done a customer service job. It's just one sample example. Appropriately in your CV, in your industry, in your job, write something relevant. Okay, this is just an example. It's hard to go through every example in the short period of time. The objective of this talk is to make you realize why this is important, how you can do different things differently compared to another candidate. Next slide, please. So this I have already covered. Extracurricular and volunteering experience, if you have done, do not miss them, do include them. Any extra qualification, extra training if you have done, do include them, don't miss out. Any extra certifications, trainings if you have done, any language fluency, do include, don't miss out. Next slide, please. And okay, yeah, this is a slide not to be missed. This is a very, very important slide. What this is this is a study done by an American university. The source is given in the bottom of the slide. They have studied some successful CVs, okay, on how whichever candidate has got a job, they studied such successful CVs and found out writing what gets them a job. Okay, and they have summarized that, and the most common verbs are included in the CV. If you write something relevant to the verbs in this CV, do write it on your CV. Like for example, attention to quantity, creativity, writing, cooperating, leading, decision making. If you write something relevant to this, I will circulate this slide, and you can go through that, and whatever maximum you can include from this slide, do include in your CV. Next slide, please. And there's never one size fit all. As the kid goes, he has to change his shoes as well. As you grow, you gain more experience, your CV has to be customized. It has to be tuned to the role you need to apply to. Next slide, please. Yeah, this I have covered. Presentation has to be good. Next, please. Yeah, it's the same. Next, please. I think, yeah, most of the okay, this was, I will wind up with this last slide because the rest of the slides covers the cover letter, which is more of obsolete in nowadays, because cover letters, most of the online job boards, they give with a CV template, covering letter template. So most times that has got the information you need, what role you're applying for, where you saw that role, and your basic skills details. It summarizes automatically. It summarizes. You don't need to go through that. If you use the default one, that's sufficient. So references when you provide, right? And you don't just write references available on request. That means nothing. That means nothing, absolutely nothing. If you have references to provide, write the references, give the contact numbers, get the permission of the people first before giving their contact details, okay? And there should not be a situation where you have given a reference and when the recruiter calls the person, he says, I don't know this candidate. And don't even give don't need to give the declaration. All the information provided above is truthful and to the best of my knowledge. Such declarations are not needed. It is expected that you are writing only the truth and nothing else. So you're not expected to write and sign it. Don't waste space on your CV. And in some candidates, they are leaving one blank page in the end of the CV. They are not even verifying that there is extra space that needs to be deleted. Don't do such mistakes. And I'm hopeful that avoiding such mistakes and following some best practices will increase your chances of getting the opportunity to be interviewed. And with this, I conclude my speech, and I can take some questions at the moment. If the participants have any questions, you can even ask in Hindi if you want. I'll try to answer them.
I hope you have understood. It's a long talk from Brother Rafeeq, and he was emphasizing every single corner of your CV and resume. And believe me, it is a very gentle talk. If you do not look after these pointers in the CV, I believe that you won't be getting the catchhold of all the good jobs here. So believing on the same, I'm not seeing any questions here in the chat box even. Can you please provide the recording? Recording we will send you later on. If you have any question relevant to the topic that we have discussed today, kindly put your questions in, or you can raise your hand.
आप हिंदी में भी पूछ सकते हो. I can answer.
कोई भी क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं, उसमें शर्माने की कोई जरूरत नहीं होती है. हम इस एज में हैं जिसको हम बोलते हैं लर्निंग एज है, तो हर बंदा किसी भी एज में हो वो लर्निंग एज में है एक तरह से
जी.
और पेंडेमिक ने तो इट हैज प्रूव्ड दैट कि वी हैव एवरीथिंग चेंज्ड. तो those who are not learning IT aspects, they are learning now.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I feel like no questions from anybody. I would request Dr. Firdaus to conclude and to give vote of thanks to Dr. Mohammed Rafeeq Sahab. And believe me, Rafeeq Sahab, it was wonderful talk. And for me, I have already recorded, so I can listen it multiple times. But I will share it with others. And see these pointers, if students and the young guns, if they know it very well, they'll apply beautifully in the job market. The people are saying that jobs are not there. Jobs are there, but you are not up to the mark.
Yes.
Right. So jobs are there, but you have to reach there with your own ways, the correct way. If you are applying here and
apply properly.
yeah.
Yes.
So that is where the problem is. Can I request Dr. Firdaus to wind up and to give a vote of thanks to Mohammed Rafeeq Sahab? Dr. Firdaus?
Yeah, thank you, sir. So before concluding, I will say that today's session was very informative, and it may be useful for job seekers, students and all. And in future, we will conduct more such webinars which will benefit the whole community. So I thank Brother Rafiq for giving his precious time and all the organizers, Central Khidmat Team, XYST4 Consulting Services, MP Educationist Conference, Agaz Welfare Foundation and team, Women Empowerment Squad, and all the participants. So now I conclude this talk, and in future we will conduct more such webinar, inshallah. Thank you.